What if?
Let me assert my firm belief
What if
that the only thing we have to fear is
we looked at things
fear itself.
differently?
I have a feeling we're not in Kansas anymore.
Differently. Differently? Differently. Hello! You're listening to That's Life, stories and lessons to make you think a bit different. I'm Heather, and I'm so glad you're listening. This is it, officially, episode 1. I'm super excited. And when I was thinking about how I wanted to kick off this whole podcast, I started thinking about other podcasters or personalities that I listen to and follow, and why I do that. And what I noticed was a common theme among the group, and that was the connection, that I feel some sort of connection to them. So they have shared stories about their lives that I can relate to, or maybe I can't relate to, but I just appreciate their vulnerability. And they allow me to come in, they invite me in, and I feel that connection. So I thought it would be a great way to start by inviting you into my life and just introducing myself to you. And when I started thinking about that a little bit more, I was like, okay, well, how am I going to do that? Because otherwise it's going to be a very boring episode if I'm just up here talking and essentially like reading a resume or a profile, and you guys can get all that from different sources. So I thought a more fun way to do this would to have like a rapid fire Q&A, almost like speed dating, right? So that's what we're going to do today. And when I started then thinking about, okay, well, who's going to interview me? Who's the person to ask the questions? I started thinking about someone who's known me my entire life, like literally known me since the day I was born. And this person knows almost everything, if not everything about me, has been a steady person, my rock in life, you can say, and also my gut check. And what I mean by this is this person can definitely call my bluff. And I think that we all need that in life, right? Fortunately for me, I have a few people in my life who do that pretty consistently, but it's all good. And she is one of them. So I'm very excited today on this episode 1 to invite one of my older sisters, Amber, on here, and she is going to interview me. So let's get her on the phone and get started.
Hello?
Hi, Amber.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. Thank you so much for doing this. I appreciate you agreeing to interview me today,
I'm
especially
super
because,
excited.
yeah, especially because I know that you're getting ready and packing for Haiti, which is super exciting. So, for those of you listening, my sister is getting ready to leave to go on a missions trip to Haiti for a couple of weeks. So, it's pretty awesome. And I know that you're really busy. So, yeah. So Amber lives in our hometown of Lincoln, Illinois, which is like smack dab in the middle of the great state of Illinois. And fun fact, Lincoln was the first town named for Abraham Lincoln before his presidency. True story. So that's our claim to fame.
And he christened it with a watermelon.
Yes. Yeah. So I've already kind of, in the intro to this, Amber, I let people know that I thought that you would be the best person to interview me because you've known me literally my whole life. And also because you're that type of person who would, or who has and always will call my bluff. So I'm looking forward to this Q&A session today. Let's go ahead and dive into it.
Are you scared?
A little bit. I am a little bit, to be honest. But I think that's the fun thing is that, I mean, as I've always said, I'm just going to be very, very honest and direct with my responses. So we'll see what happens here.
It'll be a piece of cake, I promise. All right. So, Heather, what is your favorite cuisine?
Mexican, hands down.
Well, that was easy.
Yeah. See, I know what I like.
I think I'd probably agree with you. It's really funny that you say this, actually, because I have often, like, when people ask me, I don't think of Mexican right away. But the other day, I just told somebody I think it is actually my favorite because I could eat Mexican like 6 days a week and be perfectly happy with it.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I've said for a long time that if I were on death row, which hopefully I never am, right? But I mean, if I were on death row and they said, what do you want your last meal to be? I would say chips and salsa.
Exactly.
And if they're willing, maybe a margarita,
All right. What's your favorite animal?
So this one is okay. I know these are supposed to be quick responses, right? So a quick story though on this one is that growing up for the longest time, I always said my favorite animal was a pig. And it wasn't just because, like the cute, fluffy kind or anything, right? But do you remember I had all that pig stuff growing up and I really adored them. And we lived by pig farms. And so I had full exposure to what real pigs looked like and smelled like and all of that, but they were still my favorite animal until I got pet pigs. Do you remember my pet pigs in Colorado?
I do.
And so the quick story here is that my roommate at the time and I, like, she was allergic to hair and stuff, so she couldn't get a dog. And so she had this fabulous idea of like, well, let's get some pigs. She was from Nebraska, and so also knew what all having a pig would entail. And it was around the time that Paris Hilton, had the what they call it, like a toy cup or a tin cup or whatever, like it was like a tin cup pig or something. And it was really small. And so my roommate, Ashley, said, let's get a couple of these pigs. And so she did all this research, looked them up online and bought these pigs. They were being flown from Florida and we went and picked them up at the airport. And immediately, like, we knew something was wrong when the woman that we bought them from became unresponsive. And it was within like 2 weeks. I mean, these two pigs like just started growing a lot. And we're like, wow, they're already bigger than what we thought they were going to be full grown, And you had to, like, we kept them away from each other. And then one day, I don't know, they were male and female. That's a side note, but very important note. And the one got out and immediately, I could stop there maybe. But in any case, the one was impregnated and had 5 piglets. And so now we had 7 pigs in our home in Fort Collins proper, Fort Collins, Colorado. And they were just the meanest little creatures, and they lived in the house. And then when they rooted all in the backyard. I mean, it was chaos. And so the net of that story is I don't know that I can actually say that pigs are my favorite animal anymore. So I'm just going to go the safe route on this one and say it's a dog.
I was going to say, you better go with the dog too, or we would have to hide this podcast from Lucy.
Yes, Lucy is my 10-and-a-half-year-old black lab mix, and she is the love of my life for sure.
And Heather is the love of her life.
We've been through a lot together.
That's
all right. What's the next one?
Remember the things. The next one is, what is your favorite movie?
Oh, gosh, you're killing me here. Okay, favorite movie. So I studied film in college and have always been like a film buff and everything. So I favorite movie. I know this question gets asked sometimes, and I honestly don't know how to respond to this because I have so many different movies that I appreciate for different things. But If I were really, really going to have to narrow it down, I think that the one film that I watched semi-regularly, it used to be the film I always watched when I was sick. So the one film that I watched semi-regularly, and I also appreciate it for its writing and for its cinematography, is Annie Hall, a Woody Allen film with Diane Keaton. So if you haven't seen it, definitely recommend it. Have you
That's
seen
awesome.
it?
Me? Actually, no, I haven't. I'll have to look it up
Okay.
now.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was pretty positive that you may end up saying like My Best Friend's Wedding or Johnny Dangerously or something like that
Yes.
from our childhood. Also, great movies if you've never seen them.
Yes. Yeah, I just watched My Best Friend's Wedding the other day. It's so funny. Yeah. Or Ellen DeGeneres, Here and Now, stand
Yes,
up. Yeah.
yes.
That's just, I mean, those are just like staples. That stand up is like a staple in my life. And in fact, like comprises probably 40% of my vocabulary. So
Absolutely. Always good for any time you're having a bad day.
yes.
All right. So I know that you like to travel a lot, and obviously, we took some vacations when we were younger too. Do you have a favorite trip that you've ever been on?
So I read one time, this was funny. So again, I promise I'm not all of these responses are going to be like this, but I read one time someone was answering that question, what's a favorite trip? And the response was my next one. And I really
Mm,
liked that response, because I was thinking about that and I was like, that's so true, is that, I get so excited just even thinking about the possibility of my next trips. In fact, in my phone, I have a running list of places that I want to go. And I just, as soon as I go to them, I cross them off my list. And so anyway, I just really like that. But so that's kind of like the like more philosophical response. But a real, tactile response, I guess, is Paris. So, and going to France. I mean, that was the trip of a lifetime. And it was a place I'd always wanted to go to visit.
yeah,
And I was able to go and experience it in the best possible way. So definitely
yeah,
France.
that's awesome. All right. What about a favorite memory from our childhood?
I feel like these questions are getting harder. How many more do we have?
Ooh, I don't know. We're only like
Am I
halfway through.
okay? So we're at the medium. Okay. Let's see. Memory from childhood. So I'm certain, Amber, when we were growing up, that we probably like hated a ton of moments, right? We were probably, I mean, I can't speak for you, but I remember distinctly like throughout childhood being like, gosh, I can't wait to get out of here, you know, and
Hmm.
whatever. But now, don't you think we had the best childhood? I
Yeah.
mean, it was so simple. I'm not even kidding y'all when we say like we used to play on a pile of rocks and
I
like
was
that
just
was
going to say that same thing.
that
The
was
first
like
thing that
our
came to
fun for
my
the day.
mind.
I mean, all day playing in a pile of rocks. And I actually, this is also funny. I just had a flashback just yesterday of when you and I and probably a couple other kids from the block, because that was the other thing. It was just like all the kids in the town. Like, we grew up in a really, really small town. And I just remember like sitting down in the street and playing in tar for, for, for hours, like playing in tar and popping bubbles. Do you remember that? And then we
Yes.
went home and mom was like, what have you guys done? We were just covered in tar and we had to use that special hand soap. So I just like now I think back on that. I'm like, gosh, mom was a saint, to deal with that because we were just like both equally like tomboys, and
Hmm.
um anyway, so I think, just our childhood, just, growing up and playing how we did in the neighborhood, I have the best memories from that. But uh, second to that, and you kind of mentioned this already, which is funny, is like, once a year we would take a family vacation, which always proved to be moments of hilarity, right? Like just having the four of us in the car is just, I don't know. And because that was the other thing, is like we didn't really fly anywhere. We drove everywhere.
Yeah.
And so I think just really, and I know that we talk about this often, but that the family vacation that we took up to Tomahawk, Wisconsin, was just one for the books. And that was one I think that the whole family really enjoyed, and just got to be out on the lake and stay in a cabin. And so whenever I look back on childhood, that vacation always comes to the top of my list.
Yep. I love that one too.
Yeah.
All right. Do you have any hobbies?
Well, this now, no. I hobbies, I enjoy a lot of things. I wouldn't say I'm like really crafty. I try to be, and I appreciate art, all kinds of different forms of art. And so, for me, yoga, I would say is I guess somewhat of a hobby now. It's just really something I enjoy. And then, photography. I enjoy photography. I always have, but I think, just probably in the past year or so, I've just really gotten back into that. And I'm by no means like, out there with a fancy camera or anything like that, but definitely something I enjoy. So I don't know. Is that an okay answer?
Yeah, no, that's great.
Do you know of anything else that I'm missing?
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to think more on that.
Yeah. Help me sound interesting. No.
Does being a mean little sister count? No.
That was years ago, Amber. Let it go.
Yeah. No, you're great. All right. What are 3 words you use to describe yourself?
Yeah. I would say honest. And I mean, along with that, like, I guess at first the first word is like direct. Like, I consider myself a very direct person, but if I'm gonna like soften that language a little bit, I would say honest. You always know what you're gonna get with me. And I would say the second word, so honest is one. Second word is passionate. I use that word all the time in describing myself because I am passionate. I think I'm passionate about a lot of different things. I'm like that all in person, and so I become very passionate about a lot of things, like a sunset. I would be like, oh my gosh, like that's the most amazing sunset, or just passionate about like this podcast and really helping to share stories. Like, I just am a very passionate person, and I express that passion. And then the third word, I would say caring. And I think that goes along with the passion as well, is that I truly am a very caring individual. And I think that probably actually it ties back into the honesty too. It's because, I care so much about people, or I care so much about animals, or care so much about things, like whatever that is that then translates into me just being very honest about something and very passionate about it. So yeah, honest, passionate, and caring. So I don't know, what 3 words would you use to describe me? Are they anywhere in that area, or?
Well, I would agree with all of those words, but I actually would add on some additional words. So when I think about you, some of the things that come to mind are ambitious, because I definitely think that you are an achiever, right? Like, you just have that in your nature. And it's not like you're ambitious or trying to achieve like where you don't care for others or don't think of them, but you just are a very goal-oriented person, and I really admire that about you. And then I would also say that you're very adventurous too. And I think you're adventurous just in a lot of different ways, because, whether that's like professionally or personally, with the trips that you take and things like that, you're just always up to a challenge. And I know sometimes you may not like all those challenges that life throws at you when they're not ones that you've chosen, but I think that you still take them head on. And so I see you as a very adventurous person. And then I think my third word would be fun, just because you are a very fun person to be around. And now Amber 20 years ago may not have said the same thing. But as we've gotten older and we've become close and become friends, you're always fun to be around, and I love being around you. And I know that so many other people think that too. And you're a very funny person as well. So those are my three words.
Thank you. That's very sweet. I'm glad I'll have to add those. I'll have to add those to my attributes.
All right. So the next question is a little bit harder.
Okay.
What is a secret that I guess you would effectively no longer want to be a secret?
Yeah. What's something that I was planning on taking to the grave, but now
your deepest, darkest secret.
So, okay, because I can't, I don't know. I can't think of one, and the seconds are rolling by here, and I don't want to have idle time for too long. I guess one secret, I don't know if this is like a secret, but it's also like a guilty pleasure. So I think it's it's a good one to share. Although I'm already starting to feel ashamed. My ear is getting hot. So I am a very, health conscious person. I take a lot of pride in being healthy and want to be healthy. But I am so a closet eater. And it, in particular, if I have a night to myself and no one else is around, I have no problem going to the grocery store and getting a roll of Pillsbury sugar cookie dough and eating the entire thing on my couch, just the cookie dough. And then it's one of those things that the next day, no, not even the next day, an hour later, even as I'm finishing it or, whatever, I'm woof, should not have done that, but then I just keep doing it. And it's not every time I have moments by myself. I'm not doing this twice a week. It's a rare occasion.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just one of those things that I just enjoy the taste of sugar cookie dough. It's not really any other kind of cookie dough either. It's just sugar cookie dough. And it makes me feel like a lie, because then I'm sitting here, talking to people about their healthy choices and stuff. But then I'm every once in a while, I just want that cookie dough. So that's my secret.
I'm glad that you were able to get this off of your chest and to have this therapeutic moment. But I want you to know that probably all of your listeners just took a collective sigh of relief to be like, oh my gosh, I'm not the only one that does that.
Good. Yes, you're not alone. Maybe we should start a community chat on that. I don't know. Pillsbury delicious. Yeah. Addicted to pills. Get it?
Yeah. Or what about the cheese balls? I know that we have, I can't even think of what it's the holiday cheese ball. Yeah.
Yes. Also addicting. It's really anything I can just eat with a spoon at my convenience. Right. I don't necessarily need to bake it, cook it, anything. I can just, dip a spoon. Peanut butter, same thing. I do less of that now, but Which is probably like the healthier option, actually. I should probably do more peanut butter, less cookie dough.
Yeah. That's true.
Gosh, I'm twisted.
Okay, so other than chilling out and maxing out on your cookie dough, do you have any regrets?
Okay, real quick, can we just comment? Did you just quote Will Smith in Fresh Prince?
I did.
Fresh Prince
I
of
did.
Bel-Air? All right, glad we just established that. Okay, I'm sorry. So what was the question?
Do you have any regrets?
Oh, yeah. Man, okay, are we at the heart? Is this like the difficult meter is like in the red zone now?
Maybe not.
I do. So I know, I like to say a lot of times, and I do believe this, so don't think that I'm a fraud in this case. It's like, I do believe that it's not good to fixate on any sort of regrets that you have in life, right? Because as cliche as it sounds, I do believe that every experience that we have in life, no matter how challenging it was at the time or whatever else, it really did teach us something. And that's the perspective I choose to have, right? Is that no matter what it was, it taught me something and it helped form me into the person I am today. And and I think that's important for everybody to realize, is like, even when you're like going through stuff, whatever that stuff is that choosing to have that perspective on things and thinking that, maybe now it's tough, sure, but you're going to get through it. And then once you get through it, you're going to live to talk about it, and you're going to be able to share those experiences with other people. And who knows who you might be able to impact. So for me, my regrets, and I say plural, because there were a couple of them, is I was actually involved in a couple of abusive relationships when I was young. And when I look back on that time in my life, I truly see someone who was hurting, was hurting a lot in a lot of different ways. And I think, my regrets are not being in a relationship with those individuals, because those individuals are actually, great people, and they've gone on and they have families, and we're still in touch and everything. And I think that what my regrets really were is not being able to take control of my life at that time and have a strong enough voice and have a strong enough confidence in myself at that time, and maturity, quite frankly, to be able to sit down and just have those conversations earlier than later to say, hey, that like, this isn't right, this isn't healthy, like, we're not good for each other, before we just ultimately hurt each other, and probably, on both sides have regrets now in life, right? So so those are that's really my regrets when I look back on things, is like, being able to have that voice and stand up at that time, and just honestly, forgive. And when I talk about forgiveness, it's not just forgiving the other side of the fight. It's really been about forgiving myself, and that has taken a lot of time. A lot of wasted time, really fixating on a point in life when I should have just been able to move on and move forward. So.
Yeah, that's a really good answer. And I think that, like you said, you have grown as a person. And so, and that's what it's really about, right? You learn from all of those experiences, and while they may not be the best, it changes you and shapes you for going forward. I love the quote by Ralph Waldo Emerson that says, what lies behind us and what lies before us are tiny matters compared to what lies within us. And what that's really about is just who you are as a person. And if you can learn from the past, then you don't need to worry about the future, because, you're going to continue to grow and just continue to shape yourself along the way.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely.
Okay,
Woo!
so another hard one. I'm
Okay.
sorry. This
That's
this may be
okay.
the last hard one.
I'm
When's the
up for
last
it.
time when's the last time you cried?
Oh gosh. I I used to never cry. Do you remember this? Like
Yeah.
I like
Yeah.
went through like a no crying phase, which lasted like
Mhm.
20 years. And it was just this like very strong exterior. And it kind of became this joke or like even like this badge of honor for me, honestly, that I was like, yeah, like I don't cry. It's not that I don't care about things. It's just that I I'm not a crier. I don't cry.
Mhm.
Um, and then probably like, I don't know, it was in the 5 to 8 years ago mark. It was like someone fixed the valve in my plumbing and I cry at everything now. I'm not like I'm not even joking about that. Like I cry at happy times, I cry at sad times. I just cry like remembering happy and sad times. Like, and it's just the silliest thing, but I think I honestly think it was like almost a backup of some sort where I just went through all this time in life and yeah, now I'm just like okay, I'm not ashamed. Like I'll let out a good tear, let out a good cry. So um getting to your question now that that's out. Yeah. When's the last time you cried? It's a question where it's kind of like, oh, like you expect it to be like monumental or something that happened in my life recently or whatever. But the last time I cried was just last week. I wasn't feeling well. And I don't like being sick. I'm not a good sick person. I like to be left alone, like in complete isolation. And and I get really frustrated because as you have pointed out in my descriptive words, I'm a person who's pretty like ambitious and motivated and every day like I've got things going and I just want to live life to the fullest. And so it genuinely makes me upset when I get taken down,
Yeah.
And so last week I was not feeling well and had strep throat, and just my body was just like, no, no, like you're not doing anything. And it made me so upset. And so I just cried because I was in like, waving my fist in the air pretty much saying like, why? Like I have a totally different week planned and like, I can't do anything. And it's just like, you're trying to hold me down. Oh yeah. Well, so, anyway, so that was the last time I cried.
I can see this about you.
Yeah.
I'm picturing it now.
It's actually pretty
Okay.
comical too because I do like talk to myself out loud like that.
I actually had no doubt that you actually did say that out loud. Okay, so a little bit easier questions. Why are you doing this now?
Doing this as
Yep.
in like the podcast.
Yep. The
And okay,
podcast.
about a year ago, I spent 2 weeks in Costa Rica at a yoga teacher training. So getting my yoga teacher certification. And that's what I was going there to do. But all I expected to walk away was the certificate that said I had passed and that I was now certified to teach. um, what I wasn't expecting is what happened, and I mean it was a truly transformational experience. It had a profound impact on my life, and what I gained from that experience was something that I had lost along the way, right? And what that was confidence and this true introspection of um, value and worth. And that's what I mean by, having lost along the way. I think that, life happens, right? And there are so
Mm-hmm.
many different things that happen throughout life that just kind of get us down on ourselves. And we question a lot of what we're doing. And is this the right path? And oh no, if it's not the right path and whatever else. Um, and I knew when I was when I left Costa Rica, and while I was there, I mean, I meditated on this a lot, and I knew that my life was going to change. And it has been since that time that I've gone through a series of significant changes in my life. And this is one of them, was that this was like burning inside of me. And I was saying, I have this desire to want to connect more with people, to want to share stories, to really have an impact, and force people in a gentle way, right? To see things differently, because that's what happened to me. I was challenged when I was going through my yoga teacher training, through, the yogic practice, and my teacher, Aaron down there. I mean, he was just phenomenal. And he caused us all to think about life in a different way, and just kind of, through different things, small and large, to say like, that's interesting. Why do you think that way? Or, and just really start asking those questions. And that's what I want through this podcast and through this platform, is just really, not to necessarily change views, but maybe we do, and really what it's about is just getting people to slow down a little bit and hear different perspectives and truly listen, right? That's the key here, is just truly open your mind, open your heart to be able to listen and receive another person's point of view, to get out of your own a little bit, and perhaps change your perspective on things. And again, like, I just know through my own experience how rejuvenating that has been for me. And I just wanted to share that, and I hope the same for others.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I'm very excited for this journey.
Thank you. Yeah, I actually received it just recently. I received a note from somebody. It was on the simplest post that I had. And again, just about, the stormy skies one, and looking at, when you're looking at a stormy sky, do you see it as a threat? Do you see it as, oh no, like the sun's going away? Or are you a person who now, you look at the storm and you see life, or you see, something different, and you embrace that, And I received a note from somebody who said, thank you so much for posting that. I just want to let you know, like, that was much needed, and it's something I'm going to try to do. Yeah. And so
That's
it's things
awesome.
like that, if you just getting one person just to stop and maybe think about something, that just makes my soul happy.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, the question that I would like to end on is, do you have a favorite quote or a life motto?
Yes, I've had this one for quite a while too. It's Henry David Thoreau, and it is, go confidently in the direction of your dreams. Live the life you've always imagined. And I think that just, for me, embodies really who I am, and the belief that I've always carried forward. It's the be confident and just keep going after it. Whatever it is, it doesn't matter. And nobody else's opinion matters either. Just do what makes you happy. Just the shortened form of it is you do you, boo.
Yes. That's awesome.
Thank you again, Amber. And I hope that this is a little bit longer than the other episodes that we'll be doing, but I hope that, hopefully this was interesting for some people, and hopefully also it gave them some insight a little bit into me, and maybe a way to connect with me a little bit more. All right. Well, as always, we end every episode with, what are you going to do differently? Because that's life.